What's going on, y'all? Before I start this video, I think I need to make a quick disclaimer. With these what could have been videos, sometimes there are liberties that I have to take with different players as far as who is at what position, at what time, and who's on the roster, what uniform numbers did the players have. Okay, I saw this because on one of my videos, what could have been videos, my 1967 Chicago White Sox what could have been video, that video's got a lot of comments from a lot of people. A lot of it is feedback, which I definitely appreciate. I like reading everybody's feedback. A lot of it's experiences that they had watching the team, things that they thought about the players, or maybe I forgot something or messed something up and they let me know. That stuff is good. And sometimes I'll say something and then I realize, oh, well, I did that on purpose. That was intentionally not the most ideal. For example, one of them is uniform numbers. You know, somebody has said on that video, oh, this person's number wasn't that, it was actually this. But when you have players potentially, well, I'm trying to put them together from different teams, and some player may not make the roster, another player might come from another team. I got to give everybody a uniform number. I want to. So sometimes they may not get the uniform number they wore that season with that team. So if I can't do that, I'll try to give them the number that they wore for that team in a different season, or maybe that they wore in that season but with a different team, or a number that they wore at some point during their career, or something close to it. So I know with that White Sox video, I had to do some of that. For example, I have Bill Skowron wearing number 2. I know that he did not wear number 2. Right? There was a few different things. I know, but that's one of them, because there was a few different things. I couldn't give Skowron 14 because Bill Melton had it. I couldn't give him 5 because John Romano had it. Okay, so I definitely appreciate feedback. And this is one of the videos I had to do a little bit of work with the numbers. Not as much as the White Sox, but some. And so I wanted to put the disclaimer out there. Before you start writing about this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong, that is wrong, think about if it's intentional. And also remember the point of this video. A lot of the stuff I'm saying is intentionally not the most accurate. Of course. I mean, if that White Sox video was intentionally accurate, then what's the point of me making a what could have been video? You know, the whole point isn't accuracy. The whole point is what could have happened. So, anyway, I wanted to say that before I get started with this one. So, without further ado, what could have been with the 1969 Cincinnati Reds? This team finished with a record of 89-73, a .549 winning percentage, and 4 games back of the Atlanta Braves in the National League West Division in 1969. This was the first season of divisional play. I've made what could have been videos about 2 of the teams in this division, 1969 Astros and 1969 Braves. I recommend you go watch those as well. Give you a little more insight on this very tight division race. National League West was the toughest of the 4 divisions in baseball in 69 playing. 69 was the first year of divisional play. Before that, it was the top 2 teams in each league meeting the World Series. Cincinnati Reds were one of the teams that were very much in it. There were times during the season where they were in first place or tied for first. And of course, they ended up being third, just a game back of the Giants for second place, and again, 4 games back of the first place Braves. And they finished 4 games ahead of the fourth place Dodgers and 8 games back of the fifth place Astros. So it was those 5 teams, Braves, Giants, Reds, Dodgers, and Astros, who were contending for the National League West crown to go to the National League Championship Series. Reds were good, but they did not make it into the postseason. But could that have been different? As always, we will start now looking at the team as it was. The team's starting rotation consisted, in no particular order, consisted loosely of the following: Jim Maloney, Gary Nolan, Tony Cloninger, Jim Merritt, George Culver, and Gary Arrigo. And then the bullpen: Clay Carroll, Al Jackson, Pedro Ramos, and closer Wayne Granger. As for the position players, the lineup: the catcher, Johnny Bench; first baseman, Lee May; second baseman, Tommy Helms; third baseman, Tony Perez; shortstop, Woody Woodward; left field, Alex Johnson; center field, Bobby Tolan; and right field, Pete Rose. So, what could have been? Before this season, 1969, the Reds traded their center fielder for most of the decade and leadoff hitter, Vada Pinson, to the St. Louis Cardinals for Bobby Tolan. Either don't do this, or better yet, give the Cardinals somebody else. In this trade, that's also how the Reds acquired their closing pitcher, Wayne Granger. So, for the Cardinals to give you Bobby Tolan and Wayne Granger, possibly just give the Cardinals in return outfielder Ted Savage and veteran pitcher Camilo Pascual. And that would take care of that. That allow the Reds to keep Pinson and acquire Tolan. After the 1969 season, George Culver was traded to the St. Louis Cardinals for Ray Washburn. I like both of these guys. Maybe the Reds could give him somebody else, such as Pedro Ramos. That way, you keep Culver and you acquire Washburn. Now we'll get into some big names. In 1970, the Reds had a prospect shortstop who was called up by the name of Dave Concepcion. A year sooner? Just put him in there and see if he can do a Jeremy Pena, see if he'll just fit right in and go off. So you can at least call him up. Maybe he's bench depth to Woody Woodward, or maybe you put him in the starting lineup and he really takes off for you. In 1971, in a trade with the San Francisco Giants, the Reds give the Giants a couple of low-named guys, but in return, the Reds acquired left fielder George Foster. Again, do you do this trade sooner? Instead of May of 1971, maybe you do it in May of 1969. And then this, possibly the most lopsided trade in baseball history. Before the 1972 season, The Reds traded second baseman Tommy Helms, first baseman Lee May, and outfielder Jimmy Stewart to the Houston Astros for second baseman Joe Morgan, shortstop Dennis Menke, pitcher Jack Bellingham, outfielder Cesar Geronimo, and outfielder Ed Armbrister. Well, for the Reds, do this sooner, maybe out before the 1969 season. But instead of giving up Lee May, give up another first baseman, Fred Whitfield. And instead of Tommy Helms, give up Miguel de la Hoz. You think, oh, the Astros would have taken that. Hey, the Astros are already trading Joe Morgan. Their front office was not very good. So, you might as well try, you know? So at this point, I'm going to read the final roster for this team, and you'll probably really get a sense of how good this team could be. The starting lineup I've created goes as follows. Batting first in center field, number 28, Veda Pinson. Batting second at second base, number 8, Joe Morgan. Batting third in right field, number 14, Pete Rose. Batting fourth at third base, number 24, Tony Perez. Batting fifth, the catcher, number 5, Johnny Bench. Batting sixth in left field, number 29, Alex Johnson. Batting seventh at first base, number 23, Lee May. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 13, Dave Concepcion. And batting ninth, the pitcher, which could consist of any of the following. In the starting rotation, the ace pitcher, right-hander number 46, Jim Maloney. Number 2, right-hander number 38, Gary Nolan. Number 3 starting pitcher, right-hander number 44, Ray Washburn. Number 4, left-hander number 30, Jim Merritt. Number 5, right-hander number 40, Tony Cloninger. In the bullpen, long relief, right-hander number 42, Jack Bellingham. Right-hander number 39, George Culver. Left-hander number 35, Jerry Arrigo. In short relief, right-hander number 36, Clay Carroll. In closer, right-hander number 37, Wayne Granger. And on the bench, catcher number 7, Pat Corrales. Gotta have somebody to back up bench. Second baseman number 19, Tommy Helms. Shortstop number 6, Woody Woodward. Shortstop number 11, Dennis Menke. Left fielder number 15, George Foster. Outfielder number 28, Bobby Tolan. And center fielder number 20, Cesar Geronimo. How does this team fare? I gotta tell you, man. This might be the deepest team I've made with these What Could Have Been videos. I mean, White Sox were deep. Pirates were fairly deep. Astros were good, but they weren't necessarily that deep. .89-73 record. 5.9 win percentage. 4 games back of first place. Well, this team's obviously better. You're going to get more wins. You're probably going to get definitely over 90 wins. So, this is obviously a team that's in the larval stages of the Big Red Machine. It was even before I did all this. So, Joe Morgan comes over to the Reds and performs the way he did in Cincinnati, which a lot of people think that Joe Morgan wouldn't have reached Hall of Fame caliber had he not been sent to Cincinnati. And then if Dave Concepcion is able to adjust, and then in left field you could have Alex Johnson and George Foster split playing time. With shortstop, you got veterans Woodward and Concepcion, both of which are former Atlanta Braves. So they likely know each other. And they can mentor Concepcion and take a lot of the playing time while Concepcion develops himself further. Jack Bellingham, George Culver, and Jerry Arrigo can all spot start. If somebody goes down, any of them could come right back up. This team has a lot of depth. The question was, how does the team perform? Do they end up going to the postseason? You got to think this team can give you 4 games. If you catch the Giants when they're slumping toward the end of the season, which this team certainly could, puts the Reds in second place. Even if the Braves are heating up, this team's still good enough. For the sake of this video, let's go ahead and say the Reds win the National League West Division. Because if I say that they don't, then it's no fun. It will not be a video. So the Reds win the division. They face off against the Mets in the National League Championship Series, as the Mets would win the National League East crown. I've said it before, the Mets simply got hot at the end of the season and took first place in the division. So, if the Mets play the way they should, and this Reds team does, then the Reds go to the World Series. Obviously, the Mets are still miracle workers and they can do anything. But again, for the sake of the video, we're going to say the Reds win the National League pennant and go on to the World Series, where they will face off against the Baltimore Orioles. Yes, I know, this was the matchup in 1970. But in this case, you're going to have it 2 times in a row, in 1969 and in 1970. But we'll focus on 1969 here, although we'll bring up 1970 a little bit, because in 1970 these two teams met, and the roster looked a little closer to this one. You didn't have Pinson, you didn't have Morgan, you didn't have, well, you had Concepcion. And you still had Lee May. And the Reds lost to the Orioles in 5 games. But this team probably changes the outcome of that series too. In 1969, these two teams go against each other. And the Orioles are still a powerhouse. This team is a powerhouse in the making. The series goes longer than 5 games. 6 or 7 games. And the Orioles may take it. 1970, same thing happens. The Reds are hungry. 7 games. Cincinnati gets the first of 3 World Series titles that the Big Red Machine would win, rather than just the 2 they would win in 75 and 76. And this team is considered even more of a dynasty, because they made a couple of changes with some of their moves, with some of their trades. Small differences can make a big difference. But again, as always, let me know what you think. Do you think this team does beat the Orioles in the 69 series? Do you think they win the National League West? Do you think the Giants or Braves are too good? You know? So I'll give you the starting lineup one more time. Batting first in center field, number 28, Veda Pinson. Batting second at second base, number 8, Joe Morgan. Batting third in right field, number 14, Pete Rose. Batting fourth at third base, number 24, Tony Perez. Batting fifth, the catcher, number 5, Johnny Bench. Batting sixth in left field, number 29, Alex Johnson. Batting seventh at first base, number 23, Lee May. Batting eighth, shortstop, number 13, Dave Concepcion. Batting ninth, the pitcher, in which case the ace is right-hander number 46, Jim Maloney. Interesting. These uniforms, very simple. 1971 look. That home uniform on the left, they'd had from 1968 to 1971. But the road uniform on the right, they wore in the 1970 World Series and during the 1971 season when the Cincinnati and the number did not have white trim around it. So this would be the perfect look for them. 1969 Cincinnati Reds. What could have been? Let me know what you think.